Hi, I'm David Forman with Clarity Creative Group. We're going to talk today about best chiropractor directories. Fun part about this topic is I feel like if we went back 20 years, I would really just be telling you, you need to probably be listed in the yellow pages or whatever your local big booklet is. But now in the world of web, things are different. The online version of directories still exists. They're just not all in one book anymore, which might mean that you might be showing up in more than one place. The one thing I'll say about directories that are important is that, as in all things on the web, things can sometimes get dated. So I'm going to go through some of these profiles, some of these directories, and just give you some quick examples. One thing to keep in mind is that either you might have a profile that exists there. Fantastic. Double check it. Is the information correct? What needs to be updated? All these all have opportunities to make sure that that info is as up to date as possible. And if you're not there, look at opportunities to get there. I'm showing you has a free option for visibility, and we'll kind of get into at the end the reason why some of these are in our list. We tried to pick ones that had traffic, have some what we have used as a term authority, right? Domain authority or authority in the space. And we'll kind of explain a little bit more in detail. First of all, I'm going to start off with is Google directory. That's Google My Business, Google Business Profile, which is called now in 2022. And this is where when you scroll down, you search probably your city or your what you're looking for, and it's the places, right? Your business profile shows up here where it shows you your 3 locations, sometimes 4, the map on the side. Again, assume people probably are going to use Google to try to find your business. Do you show up there? We have another video where we talk about what to set up for the Google business profile, because what's nice is it has photos. It goes a little bit deeper than some of these other ones, but that is definitely one that you want to probably be listed on, as you can see, with Google being the search engine right now that rules them all. Just be an important place to be. Next up is, I'll put a caveat here. It's for Apple Maps, but unless I'm on my phone and nobody really wants to watch me kind of click through my iPhone, fun part about Apple Maps is their data actually gets used in multiple places. So in this case, I'm going to say DuckDuckGo and Apple Maps and Foursquare. And Foursquare is kind of like a data aggregator. But if you're going to go all in on something, I'd say make sure you go in on Apple Maps, because like DuckDuckGo, which is up and coming search engine, but also people use their phone for Apple Maps. DuckDuckGo uses that data. So when I search for, in this case, a local chiropractor, you're going to get a map in DuckDuckGo, which pulls from Apple Maps some of that data. Some of the data also comes from Yelp as well, but you can do a lot of energies and efforts to help your profile on multiple places by just updating your Apple Maps profile. And a lot of people that are just using an iPhone, which is very popular in the mobile space, might just be using the general Apple Maps app to search for things local in their area, and you want to show up there. So I'm just using DuckDuckGo as an example, but it would be similar that somebody might type your information into the map app within their iPhone, and it will serve up some local details, and that is where you'd show up. If I was to predict, I think Apple Maps will do more and more to have some more visibility. So I again know that should be really a high-end place to make sure your data is there listed, where you show up. Next up, Bing. Again, it's another search engine, but in this case, I'm just searching web design agency Winter Springs, and you can see it comes up with a handful of them. It gives you some things. It's going to be so similar to how you're used to seeing things on DuckDuckGo and Google, but I would just assume that at some point people might be, using different search engines. It comes standard with Windows. Maybe you have a population that steers older. A lot of times they don't change the search engines from what gets pre-installed with their devices, and so they might be using Bing. Again, just good to show up there. It's going to be similar. You'll claim a profile and update all your information. Next up profiles would be Yelp. Yelp, I know a lot of times is very restaurant focused. And I will say that when you contact Yelp and start your profile, they will probably try to sell you on things. That's fine. You could choose to put a few bucks into your advertising there. However, I'd say always test it and try free to start. but people will type in chiropractors into Yelp sometimes. Again, maybe they're not looking for restaurants and home services, and you have the possibility to show up here. So it gives you kind of a listing when somebody types in that service and goes in to the directories. I'll also kind of get towards the end why some of these maybe aren't necessarily ones that you've heard of, but might show up for people. And again, your goal here is to show up in as many places as possible, right? Assume that somebody's shopping around, they might go to Google first, and they might go to Yelp, and they might go to another tool to do their shopping about who you are. And this would just be one other place to show up. Plus, a lot of these places, especially outside the search engine directories, will give you a backlink to your website, which helps authority, helps domain, Google understand who you are and your domain, and gives you more visibility. So we are very pro trying to get our clients, could be chiropractors, out there to have more and more visibility. So Yelp is definitely one of them. Facebook. People do search for terms sometimes in Facebook. I know people have mentioned TikTok is as an option, but they don't really have a good business profile. But if you go into Facebook and you start typing in sometimes a service or a company or places, they will surface places. And I think they also have pages, which are sometimes similar. They also have posts and things, but you never know where somebody types things in and what they might find. You also get a backlink. Also, again, some people do a lot of their sharing on Facebook. And if they type in your business name, you want them to be able to share your details. And if anything, you also want to make sure your details on here are accurate, because somebody might, again, type your business name into Facebook, not Google this time around. So it's a good directory to kind of be a part of. Expertise. Probably it's not very, very popular one in name, but they do an interesting thing where they build a lot of backlinks from people in the community and show up pretty well in search already. And for this one, they usually have free profiles, which is cool. And then they give out these little badges that can't hurt. Can't hurt to have to build trust. They do some things where they check licensing, they check reviews, they check things, and it's all for free. So you might as well just get a free profile, show up there, get a backlink, and get some more visibility for your brand. Next up is Rate MDs. Same thing. It's a doctor focused site where they're going to list the doctors. But again, free profile available, able to get some backlinks, able to, again, just have some visibility when people are searching maybe for a zip code or city for looking for a chiropractor in their area, right, when they're researching. ZocDoc is interesting. ZocDoc actually doesn't give you backlinks, but the one reason why I put them on my top directories to be on as a chiropractor is because Google has a relationship with them, and they've leaned on them a little bit, especially over the last year, for some appointment booking. And I think if you want to show up as an option within Google to have, let's say, appointment booking, and sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't, you might want to have a profile here so you can kind of intertwine things. So in case Google leans more on ZocDoc in the future, again, you're putting some data in there. And again, it's going to show up based on usually providers, based on doctors. So there's kind of a list that way. My last directory that I feel you should be on is Health Grades. And this is one of those other ones that also it's just a good idea to own it's similar with ZocDoc and probably RateMD or HealthGrade RateMD, is really just because when you start to show up in more and more places, where could people review you? How are people finding you? What other way are people kind of interacting with your brand? And this is one of those that if, let's say, somebody does give you a 1-star review, probably not, I hope not, but when they do show up that way, what are you doing? Do you know about it? Do you have a profile that you've owned? Can you reply to it? Can you do any of these kind of good customer service things? But if you don't know if you have a profile, it's good to find out if you do. Search for yourself or create or claim it, or create a new one. That way people do have the opportunity to give you good reviews when that's needed. But it's the same thing. It's a directory of doctors similar to ZocDoc or RateMD, where people can also review you. So it's just a good place to own your space, own who you are, and just have more visibility. Now, why did I pick these? And some of this falls into, like I said, these are well reviewed and kind of get mentioned about here or there when people are looking for opportunities to shop for a doctor, shop for a chiropractor. The other reason is on how they show up, right? So this is kind of I would say a trick, a thing. We're outside of Orlando, so I'll put Orlando chiropractors, or in this example, Denver chiropractors. Nowhere close to Denver, but just wanted to show an example on how unique the rankings can be, but also why Yelp might be important when you're like, I don't care about Yelp. Maybe you should, and how it shows up in search. Okay. So if I go down Google search, and this is, again, Google's used majority of the time, so I'll just assume that, a lot of people are in research mode. They're trying to find a chiropractor. So you put in usually your city, right? Could be Orlando, could be Denver, could be New York, it could be a small city, right? It doesn't have to be large, could be Green Bay, doesn't have to be like Milwaukee, it could be, a suburb of, it could be for us in Orlando, it could be, a kind of suburb of the main city of Orlando, like we're in Winter Springs. So it might be Winter Springs Chiropractor because there might be a different visibility that is served up in some of the smaller towns than what some of the large cities get. But there's nothing wrong with having visibility at all front. So for this instance, we'll just do Orlando. Starts out with ads, your Google map, but if you're not really usually in the city of Orlando, you're not going to really show up there. Next up is you show up after the first search result in this instance is Yelp. Interesting. That's exciting. Yelp is one of the top directories that we're all for, not because, again, we feel you should give money to it, but really just because it shows up a lot of times pretty high up in the search. So again, maybe get yourself added there. Next up could be, let's see here, these are all individual ones, so you don't have to worry about those. We're looking for the next directories that show up on this, right? What other ones? Expertise shows up there, ads, health grade shows up, more individual locations. Another one for expertise is there. That shows up a couple times. Right, so you're looking for, again, in the top 10, top 20, what other kind of directories show up for that keyword that you're looking for? I'll switch over to Denver, right? So here's Denver's one. Again, they start off with the map pack. Next up is a chiropractor in Denver, individual one. They have Yelp pretty high up there. ZocDoc actually is, in the top 5. So that's why, like, showing up and using ZocDoc possibly to have a profile, if you show up maybe in the top 5 or top 3 on ZocDoc, have an opportunity to get a handful of traffic for some kind of generic keywords like a Denver chiropractor that maybe, especially as a new site, you might not rank right away, or even as an old site, if you're outside of maybe city of Denver, but you service the Denver area, you might also get visibility that way. Another individual chiropractor, individual, but you're looking for, again, for more directories, more opportunity to rank on Google in the top 10, top 20, right? What other directories? Health grades is here, expertise is here. So that's why those are a lot of times on our list, and maybe Rate MDs, or some of these other ones, sometimes maybe like Facebook might show up locally better, and that would be like, hey, we should probably make sure we get up on that. So knowing where people are going to find you is key. Know that there are a ton of directories out there. And if I was to, again, give you our list, we have it here. We'll also include some links to them as well. But this way, again, you're showing up local for people that are shopping for you, that are looking for your service and can easily find you is the goal.